Don will sound the call. That means that the band should come back to the bandstand. And as we are coming back to the bandstand, I will say that once again, we are celebrating Juneteenth. In my studies, there are 101 YouTubes about what Juneteenth is about experiences about Juneteenth. But one thing that struck me greatly, about Juneteenth is that one historian said that we have experienced and have celebrated Juneteenth for 150 years. But that pales in the comparison of the 250 years that there was slavery in this country. So, a couple of those tidbits to think about. 250 years of slavery and 150 years of free people. One of the other things that I was intrigued about is the fact that there are several things. We talked about color, but we're also talking about dress. The dress of folks who celebrate Juneteenth, it might be a dress up, but it's also, and perhaps Tom is the closest here to demonstrate something that may be called of African origins. The dress. Anybody out there wearing something? Showing off? That's okay, because today's the day to do it. I can't see beyond the lights. Nobody wants to show off. Okay. Juneteenth. Are you wearing something that celebrates Juneteenth? That's the question at hand. There we go. In the state of Wisconsin, there is perhaps the longest running Juneteenth celebration in Milwaukee since 1971. Big parade this afternoon in Milwaukee. Oh, he's mixing a drink. I thought there was someone clapping for Milwaukee. But somebody should clap for Milwaukee because they're celebrating over 50 years of Juneteenth. But there's also favorite foods. What is one of those favorite foods that celebrates Juneteenth?
There's a ton. Red velvet cake.
Red velvet cake.
Yeah.
I tried to get red velvet cake here, but
I made some today. Yesterday.
Did you bring some?
No.
Oh. I tried to get Jan to get red velvet cake. The best thing that we have is the hibiscus red raspberry vodka mixture that they're calling Unchained Melody. The other thing is collard greens. Who likes collard greens here? Personally, I'm not a fan. I apologize. I'm not a fan, and I'm a vegetarian. So
You gotta put some red
perhaps it's because it's made with pork fat. That's the way to have it. And watermelon. Watermelon is another food. Collard greens and watermelon were the two foods that slaves were
Did you want
allowed.
it on the side or in it?
That they were allowed to plant for themselves, to consume themselves.
I want another order of Jack.
Another. Not okra. No. It was collard greens and watermelon, and barbecue.
That's right.
Who likes a good barbecue? Yep. Barbecue was a tradition brought from Africa and also crossed with all of the different cuisines. But it really is, you dig a hole, you put some hot coals in it, and you put whatever you want to put in there.
That's right.
Today we know barbecue to be pork and beef. I mean, it can be deer, it can be possum, it can be squirrel, it can be anything. Barbecue is a big tradition within today.
None of that.
So now that we've gotten over a couple of those, we've talked about a couple of those traditions, we're going to play along with something from Thad Jones. Thad Jones, wonderful composer, trumpet cornet player, started the Village Vanguard Band in the late 60s with the wonderful drummer Mel Lewis. That's part of the underpinnings of this band. The Monday night rehearsal band in New York City and the Stan Kenton Orchestra, who we celebrate now. Thad Jones and his tune Lowdown. Dickey on the alto saxophone, Ken Gleason on the trumpet from the pen of Thad Jones. So many years, Thad Jones played with that band from Kansas City, aforementioned, the Count Basie Orchestra. The Count Basie Orchestra, this is all legend. That Count Basie said, because Thad was writing a lot of tunes for the Count Basie Orchestra in the 60s, and Count Basie finally said, no, go get your own band. I don't want to play your music. So he did. So he was in New York City and he played record sessions and he played shows. And then he and Mel Lewis got together with all of those players that played shows, that played record sessions all week long, and played with the Catskills on the weekend, played with dances on the weekend, played with regional bands on the weekend. And Monday night in New York City, the theaters are dark. That means that there are no shows, because it's 8 shows a week. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 8 shows a week. So Monday night, everybody has off. But us musicians, we want to play the music that we want to play. So that's where this band came about, in that tradition, in that we don't. So last weekend we played in Paoli at the 7 Acre Dairy. I think you all should come out on July 12th to the 7 Acre Dairy Saturday night. It's beautiful. It's bucolic. It's just, you bring a chair, you sit back, you listen to the band, have some drinks, have some food. Oh, it's wonderful. But we played In the Mood, and not the In the Mood that most of you think it is. We did not play the In the Mood that we played for dancing. We played the Tonight Show band, Jeff Tysick's arrangement of In the Mood. So that's what our music is about. And our music is about playing all of those photos on the side of the walls, about playing the music that those people played in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s into today. And again, if you're here for the first half, we're celebrating Juneteenth. Me, I'm a white, cisgender American who has Irish heritage. But I celebrate it with all of my brothers and sisters who were freed in 1865 because of the Emancipation Proclamation, signed in 1863, ratified in 1865, but not passed fully until December of 1865. So let's hear it for everybody in our community, all of us here. Let's give ourselves a big round of applause. And with that, the music world was, and still is, we're all men. It's a very male-dominated world. There was a piano player in about 1930 that decided that she wanted to be in a band. And the way that she got in was to drive the bus for the band. So she drove the bus for the band. The band leader finally heard her play piano and said, whoa. And then she wrote some arrangements from it, and whoa, and she became the piano player, and that was the start of Mary Lou Williams' career. Here is something from Mary Lou Williams. We celebrate her 110th anniversary this year. This is called Rollin'. there on the trumpet, Jules on the clarinet, and Dan back there on the piano. From the pen of Mary Lou Williams. Oh my, that sounds good. We're going to go to New Orleans. And this is a little tune that comes to us from Duke Ellington once again, from his New Orleans suite. New Orleans has a great tradition of brass bands, and most of that music we call second line. Second line music. It has some trumpets, has some trombones, has maybe saxophone, and the most interesting thing is the drum section. It's either a guy with a bass drum and a cymbal, but he hits it with a screwdriver on the side, and they must go through a lot of little cymbals. But then there's the snare drummer that might have a cymbal here, but he hits it with a stick. So I don't know. And there's a little snare drum. It's not like marching band snare. A little snare drum. It's a big high sound. So this is Duke Ellington's interpretation of that sound of the New Orleans second line.
One, two, three, four.
going to slow it down a little bit. Yes, it was. It was a bit off him. A little something from the Count Basie Orchestra. And where's Deidre? Right there. Oh, good. She's going to sing a little bit here, right? Okay. A little something from the Count Basie Orchestra. So we get a number of our tunes from this wonderful, the Lincoln Center Jazz program. Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra has a program for high schools every year. They get 5 free charts. They get clinicians to come out for free to their band programs, and then they submit a tape to be able to audition to come to New York City and be part of the finalists in the Essentially Ellington competition. They have to crown a winner, I guess. But these bands are fabulous and fantastic, and both Don, did your band, you submitted?
Yeah, we never got it.
You never got it. In Whitewater, but Beloit Memorial High School here in Wisconsin, and Sun Prairie High School, and Bruce's High School, and Eau Claire Memorial, many times have traveled to New York City to participate in that. So we get a lot of charts from them because many years ago, Don said, you know, we've got this band in Madison we'd like to play in. A box of music falls off a truck about once a year in front of Don's house. So this is a little vocal you might know with Joe Williams. Every day I have the blues.
Yep.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All kinds of back then. Every day I have the blues. Every day I have the blues. See me worry, baby, 'cause it's you I hate to lose. Oh, Peter, nobody loves me. Nobody seems to care. so good to sing the blues. Everybody should sing the blues a little bit. Yeah. Thank you very much. Again, look up that recording of Joe Williams doing this tune. Ugh, so good. It's just so good. Cannot compare. So this next tune, this is my last vocal for the night, but thank you so much for having me today. Again, my name's Anitra. This is the Madison Jazz Orchestra. They are here every third Thursday of the month, so it's nice to have a home. So, thank you. Thank you so much to Hannah, John Taylor, and all the staff here. They have done such a nice job making us feel at home. And especially thank you to our sound gentlemen back there. You are part of the band, making us sound so good. Thank you. This next tune, After You've Gone, this arrangement is a Sarah Vaughan number. So, that's all I got.
You've gone, there's no denying. You feel blue, you feel sad. You miss the dearest pal you ever had. There'll come a time, and don't forget it. There'll come a time when you'll regret it. Someday when you're lonely, your heart will break like mine, and you will want me only. After you got nowhere.
Are you on next week or next month? Anitra? Yes. Determined?
Did everybody leave the bar?
Well,
Be
I would
coming
say-
back. Don't be so,
I will say that we are here the third Thursday of the month. Now, July and August sometimes can be a little rough outside. That's why I think that this is a beautiful place to be. Air conditioning and no bugs. Oh, tell your friends and neighbors, July and August to come out to this band. But if you do like the outdoors, you can come and see us on July 12th. That's a Saturday night, starting at 5, going till 8, in Paoli, south of Madison. Paoli is a wonderful, wonderful place. A 7-acre dairy at the Gathering. So see us there too. Here's a little something from birthday boy Oliver Nelson, and rather fitting title for the Juneteenth. I hope in time a change will come. I hope in time change will come. Well, it's the time of night that we start to perhaps do a little more experimental kinds of things. Charles Mingus. Anybody a Charles Mingus fan? Charles Mingus, yes. Many different artists that he had, but he had a couple of bands. He had the Workshop Band, which back in the 90s, they were at Fez Under Time. We saw them a couple of times there. And he also had his big band. And now they're led by a very wonderful bass player, who I forget his name. Valerie? Who's the bass player that leads Mingus's bands here? Look that up and have that as a trivia question for me. But I have a trivia question for you. His wife Sue Mingus is from what city? Where is Sue Mingus from? She's from Wisconsin. She's from east of here, and it's a big city. Any guesses? They have the biggest. They have 1971. They celebrated Juneteenth. Anybody listen to what I say? Milwaukee. Yeah, there you go. Sue Mingus from Milwaukee. So this is one of his more quixotic tunes. It's called Fables of Faultus. As it falls. We're back again. Look at that. Are you looking at that? Maybe we should go to here? Yes. 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 Let's go there.
431. Let's get in the head.
Charles Mingus once again. We're going to play one more tune from Charles Mingus, and this is entitled Goodbye Pork Pie Hat. Anybody got a pork pie hat on tonight? Bruce! Bruce! Pork pie hat. A dapper man has a pork pie hat. And of course, this was in tribute to the great tenor saxophone player Lester Young. This tune, of course, is going to feature a tenor saxophone player. Which one do you guys want to play?
It's a little quiet. It's not Bruce.
No, we're going to give it to Peter tonight. This is Charles Mingus's composition, Goodbye Pork Pie Hat.
Oh
Peter and Matt instead. Yeah. Yeah. Where's Hana? Hana's in the house? In the house. Tell him he's on. Okay, so many years ago, we like to play. First, I would like to say thank you to Hana,
103 is up.
Jackson, Makua, David. Oh shoot! I gotta look at my notes. I'm sorry. Tarante. For the wonderful atmosphere that is this place. This is a community space. This is a space for everyone and anyone to be in on any night. I hope that you come back and you support this place because we need to. Because we need more places like this. Don't you think? I think so. Do you want to say anything before we play this tune? This last tune? This is going to be our last tune tonight. Okay. Hang on. Let me get it.
You know, sometimes you are surprised to see things in life and think that, you know, some things you never see. I have to be honest with you, I would never think of seeing a celebration in a place that I'm kind of responsible for, celebrating Juneteenth with a room full of white folks. Yeah. But I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. Because the reality is, none of us are free unless all of us are free. And so I thank you for coming out.
We like to play tunes that were arranged for this band a while ago. Saxophone player Rick Hirsch arranged this medley of Sun Ra tunes for this band. So much so that each part has the name of a person who played in the band at the time. If we're gonna plug him in at some place along here. This is called "The Place Is Space." 3 tunes: Outer Spaceways Incorporated, A Call for All Demons, and We Travel the Spaceways.
One, two, three.
for coming out tonight, celebrating Juneteenth with the Madison Jazz Orchestra here in the Best Club in Madison. I'm not John Taylor, the bar staff. Thank you. We'll see you here next month, the third Thursday. Thanks for coming out. Drive safe with that.